Hello and welcome to the Blood Red podcast live from Wembley. I hope you can hear me. They're playing that Chelsea song, which isn't the best start here. Durham here alongside Theo Squires, and we are just a few minutes away from team news now. We're about to find out just how the injury hit Liverpool team is. Mohamed Salah's been down on the pitch just before us a minute ago, and so is Dominic Szoboszlai, Darwin Núñez milling around. Harvey Elliott was down there, so it's hard to tell at this stage whether they're in the squad, on the bench, or indeed starting. I suppose we'd be surprised if they're starting, but we'll find out in a minute. Theo, Liverpool have got a job in their hands, regardless of what this team's going to be in 3 minutes' time. But how much of a boost would it be to see 1, 2, even if they're on the bench? It would be a massive boost for them, wouldn't it, Theo?
Yeah, it would. I was feeling positive at the start when you see Salah walk out there with Tsimikas, thinking, oh, hello, maybe he is in this squad. But now he's currently talking to Szoboszlai. I've just seen Núñez, Trent and Vucetic just leave the pitch. It's making you start to think maybe he's just with the injured players here cheering on his teammates. But as you say, we'll find out in 2 minutes. If he isn't involved, he will be devastated, won't he? It's a final against his former club. He'd love to stake his claim on this occasion. But if he isn't available, Liverpool's still got a lot of quality in that squad. Maybe you feel a little bit about who's left on the bench. We saw in midweek there isn't quite the attacking reserves there, but the players in this squad are still step up, they stake their claim, they show what they're about. Saw that from a Harvey Elliott, for Cody Gakpo in midweek. It's not going to be as straightforward as that 4-1 victory over Chelsea a month ago, but it's never going to be at Wembley like the last three finals where Chelsea have seen penalties decide it. There's always going to be that anxiety and the nerves here. You just hope that this Liverpool team, whoever Klopp selects, has got the maturity about it and the experience about it to get the job done on one of the biggest stages in English football.
Yeah, we've talked a lot in the pods recently about the way Liverpool play in finals, and we never really see a brilliant performance from Liverpool in finals. It tends to be a gritty affair, and I think it will be that regardless of what happens with the team in just a minute's time, which we'll bring you live. But yeah, I mean, having any of those players available would be a boost, I think, just psychologically for Liverpool today. Saying that, I think there's part of me that thinks that if these players are injured and they're not even in the squad, I think it could sort of whip up a feeling amongst them, a back to the wall, sort of us against the world type feeling that could help them in this final. It's not a bad day here at Wembley, quite cold but it's dry. Some fans in the stadium. It's not really full yet, but yeah, I think it's going to be an exciting occasion, and I think Liverpool can do it either way. I'm feeling quite confident. I think what this season has been about is just people coming in and doing jobs, hasn't it? It's been about players stepping up when they've needed to step up, and I fancy them to do that again today. The squad has been so strong this year in the terms of players coming in. Right, let's get this team news live. It's 2:00. Just looking out for it now. Theo, have you got it? Here we go.
I know the 11. I don't know the subs. The 11's pretty much as you'd expect. Oh, here we go. Yeah, there's none of the senior boys. None of them have made it. The bench, you've got Joe Gomez, Tsimikas, Clark, McConnell, Kumas, Dans, Kwanzaa, and Yoni. The starting 11 is what we'd expect. Kelleher in goal, Conor Bradley at right back, Konate and Van Dijk with Robertson at left back. Midfield, you've got McAllister, Endo and Gravenberch was unchanged from midweek. And then the front three, I think, is unchanged as well. Harvey Elliott, Cody Gakpo and Luis Diaz. That does make you feel a little bit nervous if this game does go to penalties and extra time. Not only you don't have the experience on the bench like these kids, that's a big ask for them to step up and take a penalty if it goes that far at Wembley in front of everyone. But then the players who can come on and make an impact and change the game. Liverpool don't have that in reserve, but maybe the quality in the 11's enough. It's took them time to get going against Luton, but they were absolutely superb in that second half. You got goals and assists for the forwards, and as you said, you've got that siege mentality there, where everything seems to have gone against Liverpool at some point this season, whether it's injuries or red cards, and disallowed goals that shouldn't have been disallowed. 9 times out of 10, they've found a way to get a result, and hopefully we'll be saying the same thing in 3-4 hours' time.
That's it, isn't it? I'll go through the Chelsea team just quickly. Petrovic, Gusto, Disasi, Colwill, Chilwell, Caicedo, Enzo, Gallagher, Palmer, Jackson and Sterling. So quite a strong Chelsea team, probably about as strong as they can go at the moment. I mean, do you know what it has a feeling of? I mean, I know, very different occasion, that was the third round, but the derby against Everton when Curtis Jones scored, and it just felt like it felt like that day Liverpool were massively not fancied against Everton. Everton had a real full, strong team out, and Liverpool turned up, and it sort of played to their hands. It played to the fans' hand, and there was a bit of a, let's just see what we can do, and attitude about it, and it worked. So, I think obviously it would have been huge to have any of those players on the bench today, but they don't have them. So I think you've got to trust in the squad that they've got to come through, and there's going to be some big performers. One thing I think is massive for Liverpool is that back line is really strong, isn't it? Van Dijk, Konate, Endo has been in superb form. Robertson back with a bit of rhythm. Conor Bradley obviously playing ever so well against Chelsea a few weeks ago, but in really good form. So they've got a solid base. McAllister in midfield, Gravenberch in midfield. So they've got a really solid base. They are missing the attacking options, and like you say, Theo, I think off the bench that's going to be difficult, isn't it? I think if they want to change the game, then they're looking at Kumas, they're looking at Dans, they're looking at Clark, Leone, very untried, untested players. But
what a story it would be though if one of them did step up.
Yeah, and hopefully these players can go out there and just, like you say, and just think we've got nothing to lose here. We can impress, we can write our name into the history of this club, and that's what the Carabao's all about. That's why I love the Carabao. It's so it's always so random, and we can get performances. Who, when you look through that team, Theo, who do you think's key for Liverpool in that team?
Alexis McAllister in midfield. I think he's been superb the last few weeks. You see him doing so well as a number 6, but the last couple of weeks he's got a goal against Brentford, he's got a couple of assists. He's just making everything tick in midfield, and he's an experienced head there. Like, if Liverpool making these substitutes and you've got your very young players on, he is at least a player who has won the World Cup. This is a Liverpool team that, apart from Robertson and Van Dijk, hasn't actually won that many trophies between them. Yeah, they've got a few of them got the experience of a couple of years ago winning the domestic cups, but it is inexperienced compared to what we're used to under Jurgen Klopp. So at least some player who says, I have won the World Cup with Lionel Messi, that is an example there. You can calm the nerves. I look at the front three, and you do wonder a little bit where are the goals going to come from. Like, we were feeling that against Luton Town when you're seeing Diaz put them over the bar time and time again, but he got his goal in the end. Elliott got his goal, and did Gakpo as well? Or they just all seem to be scoring at some point. So they are there making an impact, but Liverpool are without their 3 leading goal scorers in Jota, Salah and Núñez. You can't escape that. And I believe producer Ian said to me beforehand, you've lost a bet now with Salah not being here, with Ian Doyle. Do you want to elaborate on that?
So I haven't lost a bet. So there's no money going to be exchanged hands here, and if you're watching, there's no money going to exchange hands because he had to be fit. That was the I think if you go back to that pod, he had to be fit. If he's injured, then that's fine. I'm not exchanging money. If you're watching and you're on YouTube, I'm keeping an eye on YouTube. So if you've got any questions, fire them in. We'll stick around for as long as we can, 20 minutes, half an hour or so, and we'll try and talk through this game. Someone's asked me if I'm up for taking a pen. I don't know whether I trust my right foot. Don't think I can. I don't know. Last year, a few years ago, when they took penalties against Chelsea, we saw Kelleher step up. Maybe I could. Theo, would you take a pen today?
Oh yeah, I love taking penalties. Just leather it as hard as I can down the middle. Easy job. But I'm looking at the pundits now. You got Jamie Carragher down there, Jamie Redknapp, and Daniel Sturridge. Could have done with one of them on the bench today, couldn't we? Just to make up numbers.
Yeah, I mean, couple of comments here. Someone saying you can bring Gomez on and perhaps rush Bradley further forward. I suppose that is an option. You could go into a back three, couldn't you, if you needed to? And someone saying you could bring Quansah on and throw Van Dijk up front. But one thing I think about this squad, and even if it goes through to penalties, those big players, we saw it. Like, I was watching back Van Dijk's penalty, and that's penalty shootout a few years back.
So good.
The one where Chelsea goalkeeper sort of goes, go on, put it in this, and Van Dijk goes, okay, I will do, and sticks it right in there. So, with stuff like that, I think they've got nerves of steel, haven't they, this squad. So I kind of fancy them to pull through some of these younger players through it. And, you just got to hope the young players have a devil-may-care attitude and just get out there.
I will say, Jadon Dans is a very good penalty taker. I've seen him take him a few at youth level. And he's got a very good record. Is one, isn't he? We saw him step up to the plate, didn't we, against Luton. And, I think Diaz has been a bit hit and miss at times this season. I think we had a few difficulties there. You froze, or is that me freezing?
Wi-Fi trouble here. So Theo, if you can hear me, it might be my computer. So tell us a bit about Diaz.
Diaz, I just remember, was it 2 years ago, the League Cup final? He'd only been at the Club of the Month, and he was the man of the match that day, pretty much. He absolutely tormented, I think it was Chalobah down that side, and he was superb. Everything went through him. I remember the EFL representatives, they came and asked us for our man of the matches, because this is one, I think, where the journalist gets to decide who's man of the match, and pretty much everyone was going for Diaz in those 90 minutes, 120 minutes. It was then when you got to the penalties, I think everyone changed their minds and went Kelleher. But he was so good that day. As you said, he's been a bit hit and miss this season, but when he's playing, he is starting to perform a bit more. Like, he scored a very important goal against Fulham in the semi-finals to get Liverpool here. He is the experienced top man in that front three who has started the most. He has got the rhythm. He's been disjointed at times with injury, and obviously what happened with his parents earlier in the season. But then, we can see his dad celebrating in the stands today. You'd imagine he's here at some point. Then it'll be a great scene as well. He'll want to step up and make it his occasion. He's not as prolific as a Salah or a Nunes or a Jota, but you don't expect him to be. He's a bit more a natural winger, but inverted winger, but he's still so good at what he does. He could be very crucial in this front three, an experienced front three that hasn't played much together. Do I have to just keep talking here? Is it me that's lost connection, or is it you, Joe? We'll see. But yeah, he's very good. But then you need him to be for 90 minutes here, because unless it's really going your way, who you're going to bring on as an attacking substitute? Kumas can go out wide, Dans can go up front. At least Dans is a physical striker, isn't he? Whereas Kumas, he's not played for the Liverpool first team yet. And beyond that, you've got Trey and Yoni. He's 16, I think 16 still. It'd be a massive ask to hand him his debut in the League Cup final at this stage. Like, you'd fancy more a Bobby Clark or a James McConnell. At least they've had some good opportunities to Liverpool, and they've not let it lurking plot down. But it would be a massive ask to have to turn to them in the League Cup final to turn a game around. You've got to just have a lot of faith in that starting 11. What are we on now? 10 past 2. I'd imagine what the team's out to warm up in 10, 15 minutes time. At the moment, you've still got the Sky pundits out on the pitch. Yeah, I've just seen a comment from John. Really wish we had Nunes or Salah available. It's the same. I'm mixed feelings about this one, because if they weren't fully fit, I wouldn't want to risk them. We saw that 2 years ago in the Champions League final, where they rushed Van Dijk back, they rushed Salah back, Thiago had pain-killing injections, they rushed Fabinho back. And I know Liverpool were arguably the better team on that day. They threatened a lot. They just didn't look as sharp as we'd seen them earlier in the season. It helps having those fresh players who can fully go for it. And these aren't players that have come in from the cold here. Like 2 years ago, these sorts of games, you were seeing Joe Gomez left out the matchday squad. You were seeing Curtis Jones left out the matchday squad. Harvey Elliott, Oxlade-Chamberlain, and they weren't getting the rhythm. But because Liverpool have been able to rotate their side with the Europa League, and they've had the injury, so everyone's been getting minutes, everyone's been getting opportunities, everybody's been getting rhythm. So hopefully that works Liverpool's favour today. The fact that you're not going in cold, whether you're a Harvey Elliott or Endo, Bradley, Konate, he's a player they obviously manage carefully because of his injury past. But him and Van Dijk at the back, it's your first choice pairing. This should be a very solid base. Let's have a look at some more of your comments. Sin one saying it'll be a proper test of the system if philosophy holds. One thing that will be interesting with this formation is if they go inverted right back or not. If Conor Bradley is allowed to just attack down the right hand side like he did against Chelsea 1 month ago and absolutely terrorise them, or if they wanted to tuck in a little bit more, help get on possession and look so good on the ball. Though you can say that either way here with the midfield. Endo and McAllister, they can rotate, can't they? You've got one who can drop into a 6 as the other goes further forward, and it works so well. Joe is back with us now, but there was a comment whilst Joe was away saying that he's been called down to the warm-up. How are you feeling, Joe? Did you go and warm up? Are you ready? Have you made the bench?
I think someone's had to give my laptop a pre-match injection to get it working. I still don't know whether I'm fully online here. It's sort of bouncing around everywhere, but someone said it's going to be a proper test of the system. It's going to be a proper test of my laptop system here, because I don't know whether I'm going to stay on, but yeah. I mean, I only caught some of the stuff you were saying there, but I think it's going to be a massive test. I think of Luis Diaz. I want to talk about him before I sort of dropped off the connection there, and I just think sometimes with Diaz, his end product isn't quite there. And I think he sort of missed a couple of big chances against Luton the other night, and there's times when you just think if he could convert some more of those chances, he could be a really prolific player. So today, he's really going to have to step up. Same really with Gakpo. You know, we've seen some real flashes of great quality from Gakpo, and I think he's a really clever player. But I don't necessarily think it translates into maybe consistent runs of form. So we need to see that from him today. And then Elliott, you know, stepped up the other night, played really, really well. So I think it's a massive occasion for him. And if someone like Elliott plays today and plays as well as he can and has a huge impact, you know, he can become a really key player for the rest of the season. So really, really excited to see them and see whether they can sort of make this about them. You know, I think when they've lost Salah, when they've lost Nunes, and we know that the other players we're always, you know, going to be sidelined going into this. It's about some of those fringe members of the squad showing up and saying, you know, like, I'm more than a bench player. I deserve to start every week, and certainly with Harvey Elliott, some of the goalkeepers now out to warm up. Chelsea's goalkeepers coming out to the Chelsea end on my right here. Some boos coming from the Liverpool end. The Liverpool goalkeepers out warming up. Theo, we've not talked about Cleveland Kelleher. We knew this would be his competition anyway, but he was ice cool in the League Cup final a couple of years back. They're going to need him to be in the same form today, aren't they?
Yeah, that was the moment where you realised how good he was. Like, he made some big saves and he was so cool in the shootout. Obviously, that's one way. He didn't actually save any penalties, which is rather bizarre considering his record. So I think he's the most successful goalkeeper in terms of shootouts in Liverpool's history. But we know he's going to get a long run in the team now. Alisson Becker's out until at least after the March international break. I know Ian Doyley's feeling a bit more pessimistic and negative about when we could see him return. But with Kelleher, he's just getting the job done, isn't he, these last few games? He's been unfortunate with a couple of the goals he's conceded. Brentford especially, he made a really good save, only for Tony to follow up and score the rebound. He's due a clean sheet, but he's still making some really big saves. And you're happy for him that he is getting this run of games now. He's getting rhythm, because we've been saying for now, ever since pretty much that League Cup final 2 years ago, he cannot sit on the bench and be Alisson Becker's deputy forever. He's in his mid-20s. He deserves a chance to go and start and be a first choice elsewhere. Now, Jurgen Klopp, he was very unimpressed when that was put to him at the end of last season, saying he won't be going anywhere. Why would we let him go? I think a few more information is fed out since then, and part of it is due to the homegrown quota with the Champions League and Europa League. Obviously, you need those players to make up the quota. But Kelleher's not letting anyone down when he is getting in this side. And he's making some key saves. Into this game untested. He's had a few in a row. He's played every game in the League Cup. He's played most of the games in the Europa League, and now he's getting a run in the Premier League as well. Be interesting to see if he's rested against Southampton in midweek, actually, the FA Cup. We'll see Adrian come back in, but then you know it's going to be Kelleher in goal against Nottingham Forest. It's going to be Kelleher in goal against Manchester City. This is not a new situation for him. He is used to playing in these big games, and yeah, like I said, I just want him to keep a clean sheet, but then see what it does if it's his moment to be the hero. Like, it's quite interesting if you think back to League Cup finals with Liverpool and Chelsea. There always seems to be a goalkeeper narrative, and I'm not talking about when they play against each other. Like, we all remember when Kepa refused to come off. Was it against Tottenham Hotspur 2020, 21, around that time, when Sarri wanted him to come off and he just refused, he stayed on. And then obviously he was starting, I think, 2 years ago, and it's him who misses the penalty that wins Liverpool the cup. He didn't save any in that shootout, whereas Kelleher emerged as the hero, and Jurgen Klopp came out and said he was the best number 2 goalkeeper in the world. You certainly feel a lot happier having him in reserve when you lose Alisson for an extended period of time than in previous times when you've had some of the lesser quality reserve keepers that Liverpool have had in their past. Like Mingele, he was a decent shot stopper on his day, but he was prone to a mistake. We know what happened with Karius. Even before that, when you think Pepe Reina was undisputed first choice, but below him, he got through so many backups and they just were not as good, were they? Getting a few more comments now, asking about Joe. I think Joe's actually in the comments now because his video's not working, is it? He's been asked if he's any good in goal, and his response is no, he is not. I can confirm that he is still 3 seats to my left, so he is there. He's just having technical difficulties. He's not got the call from Jurgen Klopp to make that match day squad. And maybe he'll just come and sit over me and we'll do this on one screen. I think he's going over.
My laptop's out the Carabao Cup final.
Yep, Joe's laptop has died. So that's a great start, isn't it? When you've got your senior players who aren't fit, and now Joe's been ruled out as well. We'll wait and see if he can make a fit return in 45 minutes till the start of this game. and wait and see actually when the actual outfielders come out and warm up, because it's still the goalkeepers down there at the moment. But at Wembley, it's still pretty half empty. Like, I suppose there is a lot of time to go now. It's all on Theo now. Oh, God, that's never a position you want to be in, is it? Putting it all on me. We'll wait and see. I've got the team sheets here now. Actually, look, we've not gone through Chelsea's bench yet, have we? And looking at it, they've got a fair few kids on there as well. They've got Mudryk, they've got Madueke, obviously they're experienced players, and they've got Nkunku, who's a big money signing in the summer, but he's had a lot of injuries this season. But beyond that, there isn't really much there, so both sides are going to have to get the job done in the starting 11, and whether that pays off, we'll wait and see. I suppose when you talk about Chelsea, you kind of have to touch on some of the transfer stories there, like Moises Caicedo. He starts in midfield. He'll want to be set the record straight, won't he, for why he turned down Liverpool on occasions like this to get a first trophy for Chelsea Football Club. You've got Levi Colwill in there as well at centre-back, I believe. I think he's at centre-back rather than left-back. He was someone Liverpool were linked with a lot last season. Maybe if he hadn't signed a new Chelsea contract, he could have been someone Liverpool would have looked to bring in as that new centre-back option on the left-hand side. Fortunately, they've got Jarell Quansah, don't they? So they've not really been made to miss not signing that centre-back in the summer. That's something they'll have to look at in the summer when Joel Matip's out of contract. Let's go through a few of these comments. What's the weather like in London town? It's a bit chilly. Like, I'm in a thin jumper at the moment, and I'm regretting not putting a warmer on. So if I'm saying that at 2:15, I'm dreading what it's going to be like if this goes to extra time when we're talking 6 o'clock. I'm going to get drowned out here because Liverpool's outfielders are coming out to warm up, led by Virgil van Dijk. You already know who's down there, don't we? All these inexperienced kids on the bench. What an occasion for them. There's a few memorable names, but maybe surnames more than first names. Like, you've got Bobby Clark, Lewis Kumas, and Jayden Dans, players whose fathers have all done it. I'm not sure. Maybe they've all done it at Wembley before. I think Lee Clark, he might have done it for Newcastle in the late 90s FA Cup. Someone correct me in the comments if they got Wikipedia to hand. Neil Dans is a very experienced Football League player. I'm sure he must have been in the playoffs at some point. And then Kumas, he's a Welsh international. He's done it at the Millennium Stadium countless times. Jurgen Klopp's out on the pitch. No Chelsea team for him to stare down at the moment, so he's just watching his own side warm up. Let's talk on Endo, actually, as he just runs past Jurgen Klopp there. Like, what a signing he has been for Liverpool. We touched on Caicedo before, but £16 million holding midfielder. No one had really heard of him, knew much about him. He's 31 years old now, and he's got a chance to win a trophy for Liverpool. I think the only silverware he's won in his career, club-wise, will be like getting promoted with Stuttgart to the Bundesliga. So this is a huge occasion for him. But you won't let Liverpool down, will he? He's been brilliant as that holding midfielder. He just wins everything. And we said on podcast before, I just love the fact that he seems to always get a yellow card in the first half and manage it so well for the rest of the game. But yeah, he's going to be crucial today at that holding midfield, because you think Liverpool, you want them to win the midfield battle. It is a good midfield with Ryan Gravenberch in there as well, and McAllister. These are players that Liverpool spent a lot of money on in the summer. Granted, not the extent of an Enzo Fernandez or a Caicedo, but this was the revamp, and this is what's turned Liverpool into contenders again. The fact that they are at a League Cup final where they can challenge for the first silverware of the season, that they are top of the Premier League, that they are into the Europa League knockout stages. They've got an FA Cup 5th round tie to look forward to in midweek. A few more comments. We've got his back. You'll never live report alone, Theo. Thanks for that very much. I need the company here, don't I? We've got Simon Tilston saying Joe's hitting the bar like Darwin or Rashford. That's a bit harsh on Darwin. He scored a few goals, hasn't he? Though it was against Chelsea, where was it 3-4 times he hit the woodwork. Who will be the one making all the chances today? Frank Scaliaris has asked who's on the bench. We'll go through them again. Adrian's the substitute goalkeeper for Liverpool, obviously, with Calera starting and no Alisson back because of injury. You got Joe Gomez, you've got Kostas Tsimikas. That's it for your experienced, proven players. Like Joe Gomez, he can come on anywhere in that defence. Maybe Conor Bradley could be pushed on further forward if you want to make a change. But then the kids, it's Bobby Clark, James McConnell, Lewis Kumas, Jayden Dans, Jarell Quansah, and Trey Anyoni. It's a very inexperienced bench. Anyoni has never played for the club before, first team level. Kumas, he's had pre-season with the first team in the summer, but he's only been on the bench, I think, once or twice since then. He's not played for them before. We know what Quansah can do. We saw Jayden Dans in midweek off the bench when he played a part in setting up that goal for Harvey Elliott late on. He's having a great season at academy level. He's got 21 goals. but he was only playing for the under-18s until the turn of the year. He's only got like 6-7 appearances in Premier League 2, so he's still very young, very inexperienced. So after Gomez and Tsimikas, your experienced players, and I'm using that term lightly, it's been Clark and McConnell. McConnell, he did superbly, didn't he, against Norwich in the FA Cup when he was handed his first Liverpool start, got an assist that day. Bobby Clark has always looked very smart when he's come on as a substitute. We all remember that booking he got in the FA Cup against Arsenal. He's very smart on the ball. He's good at really box to box. He's more of a number 8, but he likes to get stuck in as well. Like some of these players, unless you regularly follow the academy or you read our like background pieces on them, you won't know much about them. But you'd like to think if they're turned to today, it's going to be a very different story come the final whistle. Maybe one of these could be a hero. And what a story that would be, by the way. Like, just let that sink in. If Jadon Danns came off the bench today and he made a decisive impact for Liverpool, alternatively, granted, it might not be a positive one. Say they got to penalties and one of these kids misses the decisive penalty. Like we saw everyone take one 2 years ago, so there's no reason why that couldn't happen again. Like, you just don't want it to crush them. Like, this Liverpool side, they're so young, still early in the journey, but they've got the experience of winning trophies as well. And these kids, this is just that first opportunity for them. That's that taste in the cup final. You'd like to think if Liverpool gets the FA Cup final or the Europa League final, they won't be anywhere near the matchday squad. And that's no offence to them. They are kids, they're teenagers. They've got like the FA Youth Cup to focus on. They should not be needed in a League Cup final. That's how bad Liverpool's injury crisis has been. And when the injuries clear up, hopefully they're not going to be there as well. But this experience will be huge for them. Being part of a Wembley final matchday squad, taking it all in, seeing what it's about. And like hopefully they can all have long, happy futures at Liverpool Football Club under a new manager, of course, from the summer. But he'll like to see what he can get from these players. Like if you're a Bobby Clark or a Jadon Danns, it's an audition, isn't it? The second half of this season, showing what you can do to the club, to the fans, and then to whichever managers coming in. Got a comment here saying Quansah is relatively experienced now. To an extent, he is. But it was pointed out by our Daily Mail counterpart, Lewis Steele, that he was still playing in League One 12 months ago for Bristol Rovers. He was on loan. He'd never played for Liverpool's first team at that point. We can say the same. Well, Conor Bradley had played for Liverpool first team a couple of years ago, but he was on loan at Bolton Wanderers in League One as well last year. So what a rise it has been for that pair to be in this matchday squad going for a League Cup final. Of course, Conor Bradley has actually played at Wembley before. He won the Papa John's Trophy with Bolton Wanderers last year. They won 4-0 against Plymouth Argyle in April, I think it was. God, it'd be nice when if Liverpool could get a conferencing victory like that in a final. I wouldn't bank on it. Obviously, it's an inexperienced bench. It's what's left standing, really, of the first team squad for the starting 11. We'll wait and see. We're pushing on, 25 past 2 now. And you'll have heard before the Chelsea players coming out to warm up. That's a very good point from Simon Tilston. Actually, remember the Barca injuries, and we all know that Barcelona game where Liverpool won 4-0. There was no Salah that day. There was no Firmino that day. So, Robertson went off injured at half-time. Liverpool dug in deep, and they found a way. Obviously, they did that to an extent against Luton in midweek as well, and that's why you compared the games. But yeah, it'll be mammoth thing for Liverpool if they can get the job done today. Like, for all these adversities, to look at that squad and to maybe get your hands on the trophy. If not, it's impressive to still be here. Like where Liverpool were 12 months ago, you would not expect them to be back at Wembley in a year's time, competing for trophies again, competing at the top of the Premier League table. And there's still some very key players in that team who have made it, who have got the experience, like your Van Dijks, your Andy Robertsons. You just want these players to step up, to make sure the inexperienced players don't lose it to the occasion. Liverpool just got to treat it like another game, like they did against Luton, how they dug in deep in that second half to get the 3 points. They've got the fans behind the goal they'll be defending, I believe, the first half. That can make a crucial difference as well if we get to penalties, which end we're taking the penalties in front of. Just looking up now and you're seeing so many banners from the Liverpool end. There's nothing at all really in the Chelsea end. There's a few in the middle, but nothing of the creativity of Liverpool fans. They're starting to fill up the stadium a little bit more. I can see one that says, "We win cups." Yep, that's simple, straightforward. Hopefully we'll win another one today. Just so many remembering former Reds who are sadly no longer with us, who would love to be here and a part of this day. And let's give a little shout out to our former colleague Dan Kay, who passed away last year. Like, he would have been here today if he was still with us. He'd love days like this. just proud of the club, proud of the city, seeing all the Liverpool fans come together and just enjoying it. Like, we were out last night at the Box Park on Wembley, Anfield Wrap. They were doing their little live event there. It was a really nice atmosphere in there with all the Liverpool fans catching up with friends and talking about previous games and that. We saw our former colleague way back when, Dan Morgan, had a lovely little catch up with him, seeing how he's getting on since moving to London. Regular viewers of the Blood Red podcast might remember him from when he was with Liverpool.com. But that's what these sorts of occasions are like when you come to finals, when you do the away days, when you do the European matches. It's about reminiscing with friends. It's sad that people like Dan are no longer with us to enjoy days like this. Hopefully, wherever he's watching Reviving Liverpool can do a job for people like him today. But yeah, it's a great turnout from Liverpool fans, as it always is. You know they're going to be the loudest ones in this stadium from start to finish today. And Pep Linders, he was saying in the pre-match press conference, that the way him and Jurgen Klopp set up this team, their primary aim is just doing it for the fans. Hopefully, we'll see that come the final whistle today. One question we've got coming in is, apart from Adrian, which young keeper is in the squad from Floriat? There isn't actually a young keeper on the bench, but there is another one in the squad. The travelling squad. So if, say, there was an injury, you could step up. I believe it's Fabian Rosek, the young Pole. There aren't many other of the young keepers with Liverpool at the moment. Petluga's out on loan in Ireland, I believe. Jaros is out on loan in Czech Republic or somewhere like that, maybe. But yeah, there's a couple that went on loan in January. So yeah, someone's just confirmed. Yeah, it is Rosek who's in the travelling squad. But yeah, he'll just be there making up numbers. You'd like to think he isn't going to get a call to the substitutes bench. Though obviously it was 2 years ago when Liverpool lost Thiago Alcantara in the warm-up, and that's why Alvy Elliott had to come into the squad. So never say never, but we'll go for the positivity. I haven't seen anyone limp off just yet, so hopefully the Liverpool injury crisis is not going to get very worse. Thank you, Faz Ali. Jaros is not on loan in Czech Republic. He is, of course, Czech Republic himself. You've commented on YouTube telling me he's on loan at Sturm Graz. I'm not going to say I was close. I got it horribly wrong. But yeah, thanks for clarifying that. But yeah, Liverpool warming up now, passing the ball around. And yeah, it's a great day, finals like this, isn't it? You see the fans band together. I'm not sure what else to say here, just taking the occasion. Liverpool players, they won't be fazed by games like this now. They've won absolutely everything this squad under Jurgen Klopp over the past 8-9 years. He'll know exactly what it takes to get the job done. And I know he has a little joke, doesn't he, every so often, saying, I'm not an expert on finals, I've lost far too many. But he still knows what it takes to get the job done. We'll have a little talk on the owners at the moment. Wembley FSG. I believe my colleague Dave Powell did a piece in the week saying that John Henry isn't expected to be here today, but Tom Werner is. We'll wait and see. I can't imagine there's going to be a late change there. John Henry was here a couple of years ago. I remember him holding the trophy in the celebrations, and I believe he was here in 2012 as well. That would have been the first trophy of the FSG era. But no, if he's still in the States, it would just be Tom Werner. And now as the Tannoy announcer starts shouting out, I don't reckon I'm going to win this battle for much longer. So yeah, thanks for all your comments, for tuning in. Been going live here for 35 minutes. Now it's 2:30. There's 30 minutes until kickoff. I'll be back with you at half-time. We'll maybe go through some of Doyley's half-time player ratings and reflect on the first half. Hopefully it's all going well for Liverpool. We'll wait and see if Joe's laptop has recovered from this start here. I'm not holding my breath. We'll wait and see. It's very hard to get hold of IT technicians at this stage. And Doyley is just leaning over slightly. So, hello, Ian Doyle. How are you?
I'm cold. It's very cold here.
Yes, it is.
Let's hope that the action hots up.
Very good, very good.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye. Yes, so there's Doyley. Obviously, stay tuned for all the post-match usual stuff you get from him and Paul Gorst. You'll get Doyley's analysis, Doyley's player ratings. You'll get Gorsty's verdicts and all the post-match reaction from Jurgen Klopp. As I say, we will be live and we'll be back at half-time to go over the first half action. And we'll be back at the final whistle too to reflect on what has hopefully been Liverpool's 10th win in the League Cup. Wait and see. Touch wood. But yeah, stay tuned with us on Blood Red, on the YouTube channel, on the Facebook, on the Echo website, all the usual places. But hopefully this is going to be another memorable day in the football history of Liverpool Football Club.